All right, these are your notes for sections 12.3 to 12.5, and this one's on basic probability. Now, probability is the odds of an event occurring. And what we're going to look at in this video is if we just have one event. What's the probability that if I do something one time, what's the probability that it will happen? Now, there are several different ways you can show probability, give an answer to probability. Remember, odds are written as a ratio, so that's acceptable. A ratio, you can also write them as a decimal, a percent, or a fraction. Okay, those three are more common, the decimal, percent, fraction. So let's look at 2/9. Okay, that's my fraction. I would put it in my calculator, and I'd get my decimal, and I'm going to take it to 2 decimal places. We get 0.22. So we have our fraction, here's our decimal. To get the percent, we move it 2 spaces to the left, so we have 22%. Alright, so most of the time we'll start with a fraction and we'll go from there. You just need to make sure that you read the problem, because sometimes it's not going to say the answer will be whatever you would like to give it as. Other times it'll say specifically how they want you to express the answer. So make sure you read the directions and you do what they're asking for. Alright, we're going to look at a couple examples here. Again, these are one event. So the first one is, what's the probability of rolling an even number on a standard dice? Well, there are 6 choices on a dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 3 of them are even. So we have 3/6. Okay? That reduces to 1/2, which ends up being 0.5, which is 50%. Okay? Now let's go through how we wrote our fraction. Our numerator is our desired outcome, and our denominator is our sample space. Just like it was for odds when we took odds from fractions. Okay, the numerator is the success, the outcome that you want, and the denominator is the sample space. Okay, now if we want to write it as a ratio, then it changes a little bit. It would be 1:1, because it would be success to failure. It would be 3 successes to 3 failures, which simplifies to 1:1. So that's the only one that's different. Odds are different than probability. You represent it differently, you'll have a different answer. The other 3, the fraction, the decimal, the percent, they all kind of make sense together because they're all based off the same set of numbers. We've got one more example. It says, what's the probability of pulling a heart from a standard deck of cards? Now, I'm going to write down here what you need to know, and you need to have these facts memorized about a standard deck of cards. Okay? Dice is pretty easy. It has 6 sides. We can remember that. The cards are unfamiliar to most people. So what you need to know is that there are 52 cards in a deck. There are 4 suits in a deck. Those 4 suits are diamonds and hearts, and those are the red cards. And then you have spades and clubs, which are your black cards. Now, sometimes people get confused about what's a spade and what's a club. Easy way to remember it, spade starts with an S. It looks like a shovel, which also starts with an S. Club, kind of like a clover. Both of them start with C. That's an easy way to remember them. Okay? Now, of those 4 suits, there's 13 in each. And those cards are ace through 10, and then jack, queen, and king. Okay? That's what you have to know about a standard deck of cards. You, again, need to know that there's 52 cards in a deck, 4 different suits. The red suits are diamonds and hearts. The black suits are spades and clubs. In each suit, there are 13 cards, and those cards are an ace through 10, and then a jack, a queen, and a king. So let's go back to our problem here, because it'll help us understand this. What's the probability of pulling a heart from a standard deck of cards? Heart's one of our suits, and we said that there are 13 of each suit in a standard deck of cards. So there's our success. There are 13. Total number of cards in the deck is 52. Now that fraction, 13 over 52, is going to reduce. It's going to become 1/4, which ends up being 0.25, which is 25%. Okay? Now those are basic ideas about probability. If you have questions, go back and rewatch it. This should be familiar to most of you, this idea of probability. So again, if you have questions, rewatch it. If not, if you still have questions after that, bring them to class next time.